Do you ever feel like you're being stretched thin by people, responsibilities, expectations? You try to be kind, helpful, supportive. You answer every call. You reply to every message. You're always available. But slowly something starts to break inside. You're exhausted, unheard, and strangely invisible. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But how do you become anything real when you're constantly being pulled in all directions? This video is not about being selfish. It's about reclaiming your soul. And everything changes when you stop being available. Think about how often you say yes when you want to say no. You do it to keep peace, to avoid guilt, to be liked. But every yes that goes against your truth is a betrayal, not of others. When you reclaim your time, you become more intentional, and suddenly, people take your words more seriously. Your presence becomes more meaningful. Jung taught that the unconscious mind sends signals when your soul is neglected. That feeling of burnout, of being overlooked, that's not a weakness. That's your psyche saying, you're living out of alignment. When you create distance, you give your life space to breathe. And in that space, you start healing. Let's go deeper. What if your constant availability is rooted in fear? If your fear of being forgotten? If your fear of being unloved? If your fear of not being needed? But Carl Jung reminds us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Most people don't realize they're sabotaging their own peace just to avoid feeling unwanted. But true inner peace never comes from outside validation. It comes from alignment. When your actions, time, and attention match your values, you feel alive again. When you stop showing up for everyone, you start showing up for yourself, and that changes everything. We've been conditioned to think that if we disconnect, we'll fall behind. What if you miss an opportunity? What if someone needs you? What if people think you've changed? Yes, you will miss out on some things. But here's the secret. You'll also miss out on anxiety, burnout, fake friends, and meaningless noise. Jung wasn't afraid of missing out on the world. He was afraid of missing out on the self. He believed that solitude is not loneliness. It's sacred space for transformation. When you stop being available to everything outside, you become available to everything within. And what you find there is priceless. Carl Jung didn't define a successful life by how many people liked you. He defined it by how deeply you know yourself. Think about that. The most successful people aren't the busiest. They're the most centered. They don't overextend. They choose their yes and their no with intention. When you become less available, you gain clarity. Who are your real friends? What truly matters? What's worth your energy? It's not isolation, it's liberation. You're not running away from people. You're returning to yourself. The soul does not scream, it whispers, but most of us are too busy, too surrounded, too distracted to hear it. Carl Jung believed that every person has a shadow, a hidden self shaped by unspoken pain, unmet needs, and ignored truths. When you're always available to the world, you're too exhausted to face your shadow. But when you pull away, even slightly, you begin the real work. And that's when transformation begins. You realize you were never supposed to be everything for everyone. You were only meant to be whole within yourself. Here's the hard truth. When you stop being constantly available, some people will leave. But the ones who stay, they're the ones who see you, not just your usefulness. You'll lose some attention, some noise, some drama, but you'll gain peace, depth, and truth. You'll finally have space to breathe, to grow, to evolve. As Jung said, loneliness does not come from having no people around, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important. And when you start valuing your time, you find people who value your soul. This is your invitation. Stop being available to fake urgency, to meaningless conversations, to toxic relationships, to roles that drain you, to versions of yourself that no longer serve you. Be available to silence, to reflection, to growth, to healing, to becoming. You don't owe everyone your energy. The more unavailable you are to what breaks you, the more available you become to what builds you. That's not cold, that's clarity. When you stop being available, you don't become selfish, you become sovereign. You stop being a participant in everyone else's story and start writing your own. Carl Jung spent his life exploring the human soul, and his message echoes louder today than ever. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. The world will keep spinning, demanding, needing, but you have a choice. Be everywhere for everyone and lose yourself, or retreat, reclaim, rebuild, and finally, become. We live in a world where everyone wants a piece of you. Your time, your attention, your energy. And slowly, without even noticing, you begin to disappear. You start becoming what others expect of you. You smile when you want to scream. You nod when you want to walk away. You say yes when everything in you whispers no. You're always reachable, always giving, always present. But one day, you wake up tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, but the kind that no amount of rest can heal. Your soul feels worn out. Your mind is foggy. Your heart feels distant, even from yourself. You don't even recognize who you are anymore. And that's the moment something inside you either breaks or awakens. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But you can't become unless you first stop being who you're not." You see, from a very young age, we are taught to serve everyone but ourselves. Be a good child. Please your parents. Fit in with your classmates. Don't make waves. We are trained to mold ourselves according to the world's expectations, and so we start putting on masks. A mask to survive school. A mask to be liked by friends. A mask to succeed at work. A mask to be loved by family. And behind each one, a piece of us gets buried. We wear these masks so well, we eventually forget what our real face looks like. We forget how it feels to live authentically. We become strangers to ourselves, actors in our own lives. And we do this in the name of being available. But here's the hard truth. Availability is not always kindness. Sometimes it's self-betrayal. When you're always available to everyone else, you become unavailable to yourself. Every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you show up when your soul needs rest, every time you ignore your own voice just to keep the peace, you lose a part of yourself. You start confusing guilt with love. You think sacrificing your needs is a virtue. But it's not. It's not love when it comes at the cost of your inner peace. It's not kindness if it empties you. It's not connection if you have to abandon yourself to keep it. We live in an age of hyperconnectivity. Everyone is one tap away. We're expected to respond instantly, be available constantly, and give endlessly. But nobody tells you that this constant giving will slowly erase you. Because when you're too accessible, you stop being valuable, not to others, but to yourself. You become drained, irritable, resentful, and worst of all, hollow. So what happens when you stop being available? At first, people get uncomfortable. They ask, "Are you okay?" They say, "You've changed." They accuse you of being cold, distant, selfish. But the truth is, you're not becoming selfish. You're just finally becoming. If this video shifted your mindset even a little, then imagine how many more can guide you toward the clarity the world keeps taking from you. Don't let the journey stop here. Like this video. Share it with someone who needs it. Leave a comment. Tell me what resonated. And most importantly, subscribe to the Stoic Path. Because this isn't just a button. It's a commitment to becoming your strongest, calmest, and clearest self. Until we meet again in the next video, remember, control your mind before the world does.